Hello, welcome to another episode on this channel. And today I want to discuss something that that is very important, and um, specifically, it is to families and how certain property issues, can be avoided or prevented as much as possible, right? And that's this is coming because, of course, it is no longer news. It is no longer something to be surprised about when you hear that brothers and sisters are fighting, killing themselves, or doing stuff that are unheard of because of properties. And that is what I want to address today, and not just to address the problem, but to profile solutions that I've seen and that I've worked over time. Of course, there is a limit to to read, but I have seen it do magic. And trust me, um, you don't want to leave anything to chance as far as property transactions are concerned. You don't want to leave anything to chance, right? And that's simply what I want to talk about today. Yeah, my name is Raymond Ijeomah, and I'm a real estate entrepreneur as well as a property lawyer here in Nigeria. Okay, so like I said, it is no longer news that property transactions naturally attract big time issues. Naturally, property transactions, properties, lands, real estate, generally, I mean, they're one, yeah, but generally they attract issues. And because of that naturalness that is attached to that natural flow of issues to real estate, it's wisdom. It is being smart to learn to be preventive rather than reactional, or proactive rather than leaving things to chance, right? And that's entirely the the essence of what I want to talk about today. And sincerely, you want to stay to the end of this video so that you are able to appreciate exactly what I want to talk about. Okay, so first I'd like to, this is just going to be very short, and I'll just deliver the message and leave you with the value, right? I'll lay foundation with a story, and then I'll drive the point home. Okay, so one of these days, my boss at the time reached out and told me that there was a family that needed a solution to prevent some problems, or prevent problems. And I looked in deep into this transaction, and quite sincerely, there would have been a lot of issues, big time issues. Because looking into this family, you discover that it was a very large family. I mean, a very large family. And this is kind of family that the first son would have like two, three wives, second son, two, three wives, like that. And even the great grandfather established a polygamous system in the family, such that it just continued like that. As a matter of fact, one of the children had up to up to 16 children, 16 children, and that's just a pattern in the family. So clearly it is a large family, or it was a large family, depending. Okay, so in fact, as a matter of fact, I had to take a plain sheet, right, and drew a family tree so that I would properly understand the family, in order to properly designate and then provide the necessary solution. Because without understanding the family, the peculiarity in the family, and then the tree, how this gate, that gate, and that gate, and all of that, you may not be able to prefer a solution that would satisfy everybody, right? So, um, uh, story cut short, the transaction eventually does documentation, and really, um, like I said, there would have been a very big issue in the family if the madam, who kudos to, was enlightened and had foresight and knew that if she leaves this thing, and eventually, of course, she's not going to live forever. So if she leaves these things, leave this particular issue, or leaves the particular issue to chance, then there's going to be a big issue after she leaves, right? And it was on the basis of that that she took action and wanted to have sort of a document that would speak for itself. Of course, if you are constant, or you're a follower on this channel, you would realize that I say something very, very often. Of course, there are a lot of things I talk about repeatedly as part important principles that you must consider, or you must have in mind as far as all real estate transactions are concerned, right? But for the one I want to talk about today is specifically with respect to the fact that a document is meant to speak for itself. And that means that if parties have come together to draw an agreement and put terms and conditions on paper, that document, the parties shouldn't be saying things that are away from what the document is saying. The document naturally would have to speak for itself. That's a logical explanation to what it means when I say, or when the law says, a document is meant to speak for itself, right? And on the basis of that, the families, or the idea was that the families would come together, the individual nuclear families in the large family would have to come together, and then a solution will be provided, and such that every member of the family has some benefit, and then they will designate the property, and after designating the property, nobody will now have to lay individual or nuclear family claim to that property. And having done that, all parties would sign, and eventually they will all be privy to the transaction, such that no one after 10 years, or after 20 years, or after 30 years would, in his right sense, do certain things outside what has been agreed. Now, for enlightened persons, that is largely a perfect solution. For people who are not enlightened, that could be a solution with some level of limitations. My point is, for someone who is learned and was privy to a transaction, and knowing that if a particular family property has been designated as family property, it means by law that you cannot sell as an individual. And even if you decide to sell as an individual, the person buying is buying a problem, because and that's one of the reasons that when you are buying any property that is designated as family property, you must follow the right channel. I'm not sure I've addressed that issue, but I think I'm going to do that in due time, right? So that person who is buying, even though the person in the family after 20 years is pig-headed or whatever, and decides to go against the documentation that has been prepared by the entire family, then at that particular point, the person buying is going to buy an issue. And of course, because there's no right to sell, the sale would not be competent, right? So basically, even though there is someone who is not enlightened and decide to do whatever he or she decides or likes to do, then it will just be a problem. But as far as the family is concerned, that property has been designated, and the fact that it has been designated means that everybody knows his or her rights, the extent to his or her rights as far as those properties are concerned, right? And eventually, like I said, to cut the long story short, every major principal members of the family from different gates were made to sign that particular document, and eventually that was a big solution to what would have been a big problem, a very big problem, right? And that is exactly the message behind this particular video, this particular episode, right? And yes, there are a lot of issues in families, brothers and sisters, because of family, because of properties. But if you look deep, and truth be told, most of these issues end up in court, and going to court every now and then, you get to realize that some of these issues are just not it. They are just not it. And even though our courts have this ideology of letting families sort out their issues, but some of them are not issues that could be resolved amongst family, because there is nothing even on ground to help that. So imagine that for this kind of issue, the story I just raised, that every party had signed a document that every gate in the family was privy to, and then you present such before the court. The court will simply just tell you, go home and honor the agreement, right? But when such is not there, there's a lacuna, there's a hole for more issues to be established, and that way you end up having fights that ordinarily shouldn't be there. So here's my advice to you. My advice to you is, when there's a family transaction involved, or there's a family involved, or a group involved, or whatever, right? Even though this advice extends beyond families, I'm just trying to address it specifically to families. But the point is, to family members, is to prevent certain issues, blood spills, fights here and there, discord, disunity. Be preventive and proactive enough to before the property or properties become attractive, because that's what the problem is. Okay, I remember I was having a conversation with one not exactly a client. We were just having a conversation, and he was telling me of an issue he was having. Of course, his lawyer was already handling the matter, and then what happened was that the families, he bought from one of the sons, the younger brother. Okay, a man had two sons, and the younger brother had a particular area, was given a particular area, and then the elder one took another area. This is man is elderly and wealthy man, and this is a long time ago, and eventually the what is it called, the land belonging to the younger son eventually attracted development, and just by his own land was designated as an expressway, right? And that attracted a lot of development to all his lands, right? And because of that, the first son woke up, and of course the younger son has sold, and one of the people he sold to was a man I was having a conversation with, and because of the attraction, the development that had come to that area, or the areas or the lands belonging to his younger brother, he decided to I am the first son, I'm supposed to choose before as the first son is supposed to choose before my younger brother takes a particular piece, and I'm taking this area, even though their father had designated the area, had given it to them by way of sharing the properties before he died, right? And here's the reason I'm saying this. My client is having a good, not my client. The man is having a good case in court, because even though the lands at that point in time were not attractive, in fact, I give kudos to the lawyer, that his lawyer, not the one that is even doing the case now, the one that did the documentation a long time ago. The man did everything as should be done, such that even though the matter is in court right now, there is 90. Okay, we're not meant to guarantee wins and loses, but there's a just for conversation, there's this 80% or 85% chances that the man is going to win the case, because documents are just intact, right? So the point is, do not wait till a land becomes attractive or a development comes to the area before you bring up the issue of preparing a document so that everybody will know what belongs to him or her. At that point, greed, or what is it called, or in pidgin English, their eye don't open, and because their eye don't open, right, they would at that point begin to want to protect some interest, or greed will want to make them do certain things for their own selfish benefits. But before the land is developed, do well to, and that could also shoot you in the leg anyway. But when there's unity there's unity and everyone is loved, also there's love, then to a very large extent, certain issues can be resolved before they become big time issues or vendetta, right? So that is exactly what I want to do in this video. And if you have a family property, or you are an uncle, an elderly person in the family, and even though your family have been living in love, the children may not exactly live in love the way you would did. So before you transit to heavenly abode, do well to help your children by securing a certain interest, or letting everybody know where their rights and responsibilities start and end before you go, because they may not be as one-minded as you are. So do well to do all of this, so that there won't be issues after you exit planet Earth. And on that note, if you have any questions, do well to drop them on the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do well to subscribe to the channel, because there's more and more and more to come. And then of course you can also turn on your notification. And lastly, share this with a friend, share this with a family, share this with your uncles, share this with anybody that you think this could transform or bring a big time solution to a potential problem in your family. Again, my name is Raymond Ijeomah, and I'm a real estate entrepreneur as well as a property lawyer here in Nigeria. And on that note, like I said, if you have any questions, do it to drop them in the comment section so that I'll address them. Or if you have any subject matter that you would like me to address or attend to, do it to drop them. And of course, the phone number on the cover. You could reach out, and we have a conversation in that regard. So, bye bye.